So the county commissioners court's made up of 4 commissioners and 1 county judge. What the message that I'm getting back is very positive of support. Major things that the commissioners court is responsible for is, number 1, setting the budget for the entire court. That's about a $105 million budget. That jail has proven to be a very, very wise investment. That's the only debt we have in this county is the jail and then the new transportation bond. That budget doesn't take effect till October 1, but we started working on this way early. This Biosolid land application been going on in Johnson County for 25 years. We're educating a lot of folks, and there's a tremendous amount more of awareness than what we used to have. We don't want to provide any incentive for those because that's not how we want our county to look. Technically, my farm and ranch background has been a huge asset as well. We have some extra space there, and we contract with the U.S. Marshals Service 250 to 300 inmates a day at a very handsome rate. We did some testing, found some very concerning test results concerning PFAS chemicals. I have developed a lot of long-term relationships with agencies. We look at the traffic volume, number 1, or damage, first of all, damage number 1, along with traffic volume. That tax rate needs to be used to maintain their infrastructure, and that's our position on it. I do a tremendous amount of research. I ask a lot of questions. I ask hard questions. I would tell them, I said, your avenue is called TCQ, register an air quality complaint, and ask them to come investigate. In order to kind of filter through some of the requests and make some determinations early on the difference between wants and needs. I get an email every morning how many people are in our jail, and it breaks it down into county inmates, U.S. Marshal inmates that we contract with, and then we contract with some other counties to house their prisoners. I'm well grounded and well rooted into this role, but I can get more road work done in a drought year than I can in one of those wet years. We can get more road miles rebuilt. If you look at today's number of Johnson County inmates and compare that to 1 year ago today, we're up 100. I look at this as to the voters. This is you're in charge of a personnel decision that would require testing of biosolids for certain PFAS chemicals before it could be land applied to ag land. That now the public is aware of this and aware of, it's always been an offensive odor. And odors are not really measurable. I've spoken to hundreds of county commissioners at our regional and district conferences. We've done a lot of positives, and we've done a lot of very positive things in this county. We're continually looking at subdivisions, at plats, dealing with developers, dealing with industry. This Re-Inspire program provides some temporary housing for them to get them on their feet. A lot of good things we did with that money. Why am I running now? Because I can't yet say mission accomplished on quite a few things that I have in motion. Our current estimate is $225,000. That's a 25% increase in a 5-year period. Somebody that's seasoned in order to maneuver that growth and go through it and deal with what comes at us every day. So the rule of law always prevails in decisions that we make. A perfectly laid foundation with my school administration background, dealing with large budgets, managing people, personnel issues, dealing with the public, 30 years in public education, 11 years in county government. We have over 900 employees that we manage. Our number 1 priority in this county is taking care of our employees. Our employees are our most valuable asset. They're the ones that pull the wagon every day. I've done that for the last 11 years, and I will continue to do that in representing the citizens of Johnson County that has the experience and the background and already is part of that system rather than a person that does not. A couple of things I'm very passionate about. I want to make sure that our natural resources are taken care of. Back a few years ago, we increased the minimum acreage for a water well from 1 acre to 2 acres.
Voting season is upon us. And what better way to exercise your right to vote than by casting your vote for APUS floors and granite countertops to help you update your home? APOS offers design, fabrication, and installation of granite countertops, floors, and more for both residential and commercial projects. APOS is where customer service and commitment to the community come together. Vote today for APOS Floors to install your new floor and granite countertops.
Welcome to the Texas Transparency Project, where transparency perpetuates accountability. Our mission is to help people judge candidates, ballot issues, and public problems fairly. We focus on how a person will use power, how their choices will affect your daily life, and whether they can be trusted to use the power that you bestow upon them via the ballot box responsibly. Transparency means the public can see how leaders use power. Accountability happens when voters use what they see to make smart choices at the ballot box. Public office should not be earned just because someone is famous, popular, or well connected, because popularity is not the same as ability. If we do not judge our elected leaders carefully, we can end up with selfish or harmful leadership. The Texas Transparency Project gives you the tools to decide who should represent our communities and how to hold them accountable once they are in office. Today, we have Commissioner Larry Woolley. Commissioner Woolley is seeking re-election as Johnson County Precinct 4 Commissioner in the March 3rd, 2026 primary. Commissioner Woolley brings more than a decade of county leadership and a lifetime rooted in agricultural, education, and public service. A Grandview resident, Commissioner Woolley has served as commissioner since 2015 and is widely known for being accessible, steady, and hands-on with constituents across Precinct 4. In recent years, Commissioner Woolley has become a leading local voice on the PFAS contamination crisis affecting Johnson County farmers and ranchers, especially in the Grandview area. He supported county action to halt Biosolids application until PFAS testing standards are in place, backed calls for stronger oversight by state and federal regulators, and helped advance local emergency response efforts when contamination concerns escalated. After a federal lawsuit tied to the issues was dismissed in 2025, Commissioner Woolley publicly criticized the ruling and continues to push for long-term protections for rural families, livestock, land, and water of the precinct that he serves. Commissioner Woolley's background combines practical leadership and deep community ties. A former educator and school administrator, a longtime real estate broker and auctioneer, ranching and agricultural operator, and an active member of major county and statewide organizations, his record includes recognition as a Johnson County Man of the Year 2024. Serves as leadership roles in county government, associations, and multiple honors from 4-H, FFA, and agricultural education groups. For supporters, his campaign message is very straightforward: proven conservative county leadership, direct constituent service, and continued defense of Johnson County's agricultural and rural way of life. Commissioner Woolley, welcome to the Texas Transparency Project. This is the first time we've had you on. We've had some other commissioners on, but how have you been doing, and how's everything going, sir?
Going real well, Greg, and thank you for having me on today. I appreciate this opportunity.
You've served for quite a while as commissioner of Precinct 4 here in Johnson County, and you're in the middle of a campaign now. How's the campaign going? As you're out speaking with your constituents, those that you're asking to trust you with their vote, what are you hearing, and how are they communicating with you, and what are you finding is important to them?
It's going real well, Greg. The message that I'm getting back is very positive of support. I've been active community wise and civilly here in this county for a long time, in addition to the last 11 years serving as county commissioner. And my constituents, I talk to them regularly, and the message I'm receiving it's been very good. It's very positive. So we're looking forward to the next 2 weeks, and moving into this early voting period starts tomorrow, and moving toward the finish line on March 3rd.
And March 3rd, we will know who's going to lead the county precinct for the next 4 years. So thank you for serving. We'd like to thank everybody that throws their hat in the ring to serve. It's thankless, it's difficult, and it's difficult. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. We are blessed to have earned the trust of a lot of people here to try to let them use this platform to communicate with the people that they're asking to trust with their votes. And we're asking what we call the 3 W's, and it's to help people get a little bit more familiar with you. So with these 3 W's, the first thing that we want to ask is, in your own words, how do you define yourself? So who is Larry Woolley, and how do you define yourself, Commissioner?
Who is Larry Woolley? Larry Woolley is a husband, a dad, a granddad, a former teacher, former school administrator, farmer and a rancher, a real estate broker, auctioneer, and now a county commissioner. I think all of those things in my background, that's who I am. That's what I am. That's what I'm known for. All of those things. I have constituents that are former students. I have constituents that are former clients. I've have a lot of constituents that have attended Larry Woolley and Associates auctions. So it's that's who I am. That's how I'm known. All the above, Greg.
And it sounds like you have a lot going on with a broad spectrum of stuff that you've been involved in. Why are you running for re-election of commissioner? And more so, as why did you decide to run for commissioner of precinct 4 originally? And why are you in this race?
Well, when I ran the first time back in 2014, I felt the need that I could, with my background, that I had something to offer. I felt like I had something to bring to the table. With my real estate background, my administrative background, dealing with large budgets, I felt and I'd been a contractor for the county, to the county, as an auctioneer. I'd done the county auction starting back in 1989, and I did that on almost an annual basis for a number of years. So I understood the process of how Commissioners Court, how that works in approval of contracts, and had been in Commissioners Court quite a few times. So had a basic understanding. So moving in, it was a seamless transition when I first started as county commissioner because of that background. Why am I running now? Because I can't yet say mission accomplished on quite a few things that I have in motion. And with the growth that we're experiencing here in this county, it takes somebody that's seasoned in order to maneuver that growth and go through it and deal with what comes at us every day. So the things that I have in motion, I would like to see some resolve in, and some closure, several things. But that's why I'm continuing to run, Greg.
And one of the last things we ask with our three W's is, any elected official, they're going to be asked to make a lot of decisions, and they're going to have a lot of people on both sides that have their different views on what you should do. When you have a decision and you're struggling with it, what values are non-negotiable to you? What do you lean on? What guides you in helping you make a decision that you're struggling to make with while representing the citizens of Precinct 4?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that I'm doing things pleasing to the Lord. The Lord is my Savior, and I want to make sure that I'm doing things with a Christian-based foundation. Number 2, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Texas and the United States. So the rule of law always prevails in decisions that we make. There's sometimes when I don't necessarily like the law, and we have to do things that I wish I could do differently, but I took an oath, and we have to adhere to that.
So we're going to get involved with some specific things that the county commissioner does, some of the specificities of the decisions that you're asked to make here in a few minutes. But you do have an opponent this time. Talk to us a little bit about your background and your unique qualifications that sets you apart, and what makes you think that you're the best man to lead Precinct 4 moving
Sure,
forward.
Greg. My background, and as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of a perfectly laid foundation with my school administration background, dealing with large budgets, managing people, personnel issues, dealing with the public. I've been a public servant for 40 years, over 40 years, 41 years, 30 years in public education, 11 years in county government. And the 11 years that I have here on the court, we've progressed from where we were in 2015 to current has been a big pattern of change with our growth and the strains and the stresses on our system. But that experience and with my training, technically my farm and ranch background has been a huge asset as well. So I think all those things combined give me a really good, strong base as far as being continuing to be a good county commissioner.
Speaking of county commissioner, and that's what you're asking people to trust you with, in your own words, please define what the roles, duties, and responsibilities are of a county commissioner, and on a day-to-day basis, what you're asked to do in service of the county.
So the county commissioners court's made up of 4 commissioners and 1 county judge. 4 commissioners are elected from a section of the county, and that's based on population, as equal as it could be every time we redistrict every 10 years. And the county judge is elected at large. So that 5-member court is the decision-making board of the county. It's kind of the board of directors. Every decision, any contractual decision has to be approved by the commissioner's court. The county judge is the only one that can sign, but it has to be approved by the commissioner's court. And that includes all the way down to a service contract on a copy machine. So it could be a construction management, or it could be something as simple as that. Anything like that has to be approved by the county judge, or approved by the commissioner's court and signed by the county judge. The major things that the commissioner's court is responsible for is, number 1, setting the budget for the entire court. That's about a $105 million budget. We have over 900 employees that we manage. We maintain all the buildings. We make decisions on the use of all buildings. Any real estate acquisition goes through commissioner's court. Any real estate liquidation goes through commissioner's court. Along with the budget comes the tax rate. The commissioner's court sets the county portion of the tax rate on your tax bill, and that's reflected, and that's done on an annual basis. Our budget year is October 1 through September 30, and that's some of the huge things that we do. In addition, each of the commissioners, we're in a precinct system where the county commissioner is responsible for road and bridge operations in their precinct. So now sometimes we get things. I'll tell you some things that are not come under the county commissioner's court. People think that other elected officials, some people might misunderstand that other elected officials work for the commissioner's court. All elected officials are autonomous in their position. The only thing that the commissioner's court does is control their budget and as it affects their personnel and their operations. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of what we do. We meet twice a month, every second and fourth Monday. Our meetings are public. Public is also welcome. There's always a public comment period that people can sign up and speak. And our meetings are also broadcast live on johnsoncountytx.org. They're very high quality, and all those videos are archived all the way back. That started in mid-October of 2015. That was some state legislation that passed that I think was excellent legislation. It improves and and provides full transparency of every word that's ever spoken all the way back to October of 2015. And interestingly enough, all of our minutes of all the meetings, I researched some minutes that dated back to 1908 and found that on our website the other day concerning that particular question was open range versus closed range on livestock. And it's handwritten, and it's fairly hard to read, but our minutes go back, way over 100 years. So anyway, that's kind of an idea of what the Commissioners Court does.
So, you've served on the Commissioners Court since 2015, and ironically, that's since they've been live broadcasting them and archiving the videos. But during your time on Commissioners Court, while you've served the citizens of Johnson County, what are a couple of the accomplishments that you're very, very proud of? Some of the things that you like to hang your hat on that says, "Hey, I was a part of that. That's Johnson County's better off for it." Some of the decisions that you were a part of making that helped Johnson County move forward and become better than it was before you took office?
Well, when I first came on the court, one of the glaring problems we had was personnel salaries, especially the biggest black eye we had was our dispatcher salaries. They were grossly underpaid. We worked on that diligently over a number of years, and it's taken a while. We made some progress on those salaries, and now we've increased our law enforcement salaries across the board, including dispatchers. We've put our law enforcement, our deputies, on a step plan where if they're coming in from a city or another county and they have 10 years of experience, they're plugged in on that level 10. And based on their experience, rather than starting at the bottom of the pay scale and having to work their way up, we've, now our minimum starting pay for deputies, I believe, is in the $77,000 bracket. And when I first came on, it was substantially less than that. So we've made a lot of progress as far as that goes. We've done some improvements in our civilian pay structure as well with the longevity plan. I'm very proud of that. One of and we'll talk about budget priorities later, but our number one priority in this county is taking care of our employees. Our employees are our most valuable asset. They're the ones that pull the wagon every day. And we have to reinvest in those existing employees, and I think that's much more important than investing in new employees. A couple of other things. When I came on the court, the county owned a lot of unusable properties, real estate properties, and they had repeatedly tried to sell those properties with a sealed bid process unsuccessfully. When I came on the court, we enlisted a real estate broker to list and sell those properties. That's one of the methods that the state allows us to use. And we liquidated every one of those unusable properties. For example, the old jail down on Mill Street, we were hoping that new owner would, turn that into something that would be a popular attraction here in the city of Cleburne. And so far, that hasn't happened, but it's off of our list and it's on the tax rolls. We sold quite a few other properties as well, and that was a huge thing. Another thing that we did just here in the last three or 4 years was we managed a large the ARPA fund that we were awarded. $34 million came into our county, and rather than
So real quick, so ARPA, that's American Rescue Plan Fund. So this is federal funding during COVID relief, just so everybody.
Yes, thank you for
talk to us about what ARPA is. That's thrown around there a lot, so people understand it. Please.
Every county in the nation received this money. It was based on your population, and we were fortunate enough to receive $34 million. We made the decision, or set of decisions, to not only utilize some of that in the county, but also, or as far as in the county government, but also utilize some of that money for nonprofits, and some of it went to cities. For example, one of the largest awards that we made was in my precinct to Alvarado Helping Hands. It became apparent that there were a lot of food bank type charitable organizations here in the county that needed assistance, and we made awards to quite a few of those. Alvarado Helping Hands was able to. We awarded them $1.7 million, and they were able to acquire real estate, build a building. It's a beautiful building, and they provide quite a service. Whenever we were making those decisions, I did some research, and Alvarado ISD had the highest percentage of students on free lunch, so that helped us make those decisions. But anyway, we awarded a lot of, like Re-Inspire here in Cleburne, that provides housing for students, for youth that have come out of foster care. That whole system's got a glitch in it, because when those kids turn 18, they're on their own. And this Re-Inspire program provides some temporary housing for them to get them on their feet. A lot of good things we did with that money. I was able to utilize, two of us commissioners utilized some money for major road projects. I utilized $2 million of that on county roads, and made some major improvements in a couple of major thoroughfare type roads in the county. So those are a handful of things that I'm very, very proud of and very pleased that we've been able to do.
Well, in 15 years of service to Johnson County, there has to be some things that were left on the table, some things that if possible you could change, or things that you wish would have done a little better, or you could have improved on, or some things left undone. What are some things that, looking back on, that you wish could have been improved on?
Greg, it's every day is a challenge, and I guess like I mentioned earlier, personnel, our employees are our greatest asset, and even though we've made a lot of major strides there, I know that even in my department, in my crew, I have a hard time attracting employees for what we pay. We have excellent benefits. County has, sometimes that's our major attractant, is our retirement plan. We do an insurance plan, and even though we don't pay as well, we provide good benefits. I wish we could enhance that even more. Right now I have several vacancies on my crew, and I require, or as county road and bridge employees, it's required for them to have a CDL driver's license, commercial driver's license. And whenever you have a commercial driver's license, you can go to work for, a lot of these other companies with the growth that we're having as a truck driver, or, another job that requires that license, and make a lot more money than we can offer. So I'd like to see us enhance, if we require some special certification like we do in law enforcement, i.e. a CDL driver's license, then I think we need to enhance those salaries. And I think that's an area that we can improve.
Well, speaking of, having some budgetary concerns with salaries and wishing you could pay some employees more, that leads us in. We're going to start right now, right into some of the roles that a commissioner plays. And one of the biggest things a commissioner does, as you stated earlier, was establishing a budget and approving a budget and setting some tax rates. Talk to us a little bit about the budgets, the budget process, what goes into that, and how you approach that process.
Today's the February the 16th, I believe. Our next Commissioners Court meeting is February the 23rd. And I glanced at the agenda this morning. We will establish our budget priorities here in February. That budget doesn't take effect till October 1, but we start working on this way early. And now we appoint a budget committee. The budget committee is made up of the county judge, one commissioner, and that rotates from year to year on who's going to be on that of the four of the commissioners, the personnel director, the auditor, and that's the bulk of that committee. And the committee hears requests from other department heads and other elected officials, and we do that in order to kind of filter through some of the requests and make some determinations early on the difference between wants and needs. We try to focus on needs, and we really evaluate those hard, especially in terms of personnel or major purchases. sometimes it's very shocking how expensive different software programs are. And we really have to look at that very closely because there's a standard set of things that roll into that budget every year. Like every year, the sheriff's office is going to get X number of new patrol vehicles. Every year, certain constables get vehicles. The 4 road and bridge commissioners have to look at their equipment needs, and there's some major purchases that come and go through that budget. We have to look at closely, and Greg, our population has grown since the census was taken in 2020. We were at 180,000 people at the census, right just shy of that. Our current estimate is 225,000. That's 25% increase in a 5-year period. So the increase in the number of requests for services, our court cases have grown due to that. And for example, I get an email every morning how many people are in our jail, and it breaks it down into county inmates, U.S. Marshal inmates that we contract with, and then we contract with some other counties to house their prisoners. Well, if you look at today's number of Johnson County inmates and compare that to 1 year ago today, we're up 100. So along with that comes court cases, and there creates a backlog for the prosecutors, creates a need for additional prosecutors from time to time, which we've just added some last budget. We were able to use Senate Bill 22 money for some of that, and hopefully that money will continue. But we have to look at that by department, by elected official, and start whittling on that budget, prioritizing those wants and needs. Needs, we prioritize, obviously. Wants, and sometimes needs, if somebody comes in and says, I need 4 employees, we may end up with 2 if we can get by with 2. Or we may end up with 1. I mean, it just depends on, how that. We have some great discussions in that committee. It's an excellent tool. That committee starts meeting, say, in June, in preparation for when the court meets in August to have full workshop on kind of finalizing that budget. And then some of those elected officials, especially the sheriff's office, they'll come and make their full presentation, because that entails over half of our budget. Whenever you look at law enforcement, jail, and courts, that's about 55% of our total budget. So that's a huge portion of what we do.
Bottom line is, I think, a lot of people, they don't have a grasp of what Commissioner's Court oversees. You talk about fire, the jails, the courts, constable's office, and stuff like that. Bottom line is, every department, I've been to lots of budget workshops. I am not a line item budget guy. I don't understand it. But in these budget workshops, I've watched, and whether it's commissioners' courts, a city council, school board, whatever. But it's almost, I almost related to like the Hunger Games. Everybody asking for what they feel is most important. As a commissioner, approving the budget for a lot of different departments, how do you go through the prioritization process? How do you delineate between what you can actually fit into this budget, what you cannot fit in this budget? You have a lot of latitude with, what type of tax rates you approve, and how do you balance respecting the taxpayers versus, not going overboard with too many, wants and bells and whistles, right, making sure the needs are addressed. What goes into that process, if that makes sense?
Well, you mentioned bells and whistles. That's the first to go. We try to we try to do more with less. And that's the best way I can put it. We just, you have to prioritize. Everybody can have a wish list, and chances are that wish list is not going to get granted. Your needs list is going to be prioritized. We're going to look at what, and we base that on numbers. Let's say the DA or the county attorney comes in, and they're going to give us, this is how many. This is what our caseload is this year, or what we're looking at compared to what last year was. And this is how far behind we are. And we can justify this employee to get us caught up with that and make that a more streamlined process. That's much more measurable approach than somebody just coming in and saying, golly, we're shorthanded. We need another clerk. Give us some numbers, give us some charts and graphs, something to hang our hat on so that we can measure that. It needs to be measurable.
And bottom line too is you're asked to approve lots of big projects, lots of big things that sometimes take multiple years to come to fruition, things like that. Highlight some of the projects that you've approved over the years that you're particularly proud of. Some of the things that the county has been a part of, transitioning from this rural agricultural county into more of a suburban county is kind of tearing Ellis County kind of encroach upon Johnson County here. What are some of the projects that you're more proud of, Commissioner?
Well, when I first came on the court back in 2015, the decision had already been made to build the new wing on the jail, C5 of the jail, adding 212 beds to our jail capacity. But that had just started, and I was a part of that. Commissioner Howell and I served on the construction review committee, and we met out there on a regular basis with the contractors in the sheriff's office and reviewing what was going on, during that construction. That jail has proven to be a very, very wise investment. That's the only debt we have in this county is the jail, and then the new transportation bond, the $60 million transportation bond that was recently voter approved. That jail has allowed us to, we have some extra space there, and we contract with the U.S. Marshal Service 250 to 300 inmates a day at a very handsome rate, and that we collect on those federal inmates to help offset the cost of operating the rest of the jail. So it's been a very, very wise, very, very wise move. I was glad to be a part of that. The jail's number one. The next thing that we've done, a couple of things. We bought what we call the Marty building out by Home Depot, 25,000 square feet, includes a warehouse. We're housing 3 departments in that building. For what we bought that for, compared to what we would have cost, what it would have cost to buy the real estate and build the building and furnish it, we saved a tremendous amount of money. That's proven to be a very, very good decision, a very, very wise investment. We just recently, and we haven't closed on that yet, so I won't discuss that. No, we have closed on that. Two different projects. I got
real estate.
2 different projects going here. The next one coming up is, I'll talk about that in a minute, but we recently purchased 110 North Main, which is the old Colonial Savings and Loan Building. Our plan is to move the tax office over into that and have that a standalone department in that building solely by themselves, move them out of the annex building, the old bank building across the street from the courthouse, and free up that first level there of that building to move some of the things out of the historic courthouse into. It's going to take, that's going to be a long-term project, getting that remodeled, getting it revamped, repurposed. But in order to do that, as a result of that, we're going to be able to move some stuff out of the courthouse. And I'll talk about that in a minute in upcoming projects. But another thing I'm very proud of, and not on as big a scale, but our extension office, our Texas A&M AgriLife extension office, was on the 3rd floor historically of the annex building in a room about 3 times the size of this room. And they were extremely cramped. They serve a tremendous amount of people, both adults coming in for adult education and adult assistance through either our ag agent or our FCS or our family and consumer science agent. And then, of course, a tremendous amount of traffic with 4-H families. we were able to move them across the street in what used to be the old tax office that was a building just sitting vacant. And we put less than, I think we spent like $80,000 and did an in-house project in there, totally revamped that with offices, it's got a community room in it now that the community uses it is booked solid. Of course, we have a lot of 4-H groups that use it, and our master gardeners and some other civic groups use that as well. That's been a home run and made that building so much more accessible for all those people that were, having to park and go to the third floor. That parking lot across the street where the drive-in bank used to be, we own that, and we redid that, and that's made that very accommodating for our public that visits the extension office. They provide a tremendous service to everybody in our county.
So we've talked about some of the things you're proud of since your time serving since 2015, and obviously you're asking the voters to put some more trust in you for another term. Looking ahead, what are either some things that are in their infancy or some things that you want to bring to the table and discuss potentially doing for the future? What are some of the projects that you're looking forward to being a part of or hopefully bringing to the table for Johnson County, Commissioner?
Well, a couple of things, and one thing that's in its very much infancy stage, as you stated, out at our precinct yard, Precinct 4, we have about 4.5 acres. We are very, very cramped in size, and there's a possibility that we could acquire some adjoining property that would almost double our footprint there. And I'm not going to say we're in negotiations, but we are exploring the opportunity there to expand over into some adjoining property, would give us access to some county road frontage on the other side. And we're hopeful that we can move forward with that. Because we desperately need the room. For several years now, we've kind of been on the lookout for a potential other property. I would much prefer to stay where we are and expand our footprint rather than have to move. That'd be a huge undertaking, and we're well established, been there for a long, long time. Everybody knows where to find us, and we like that. Another project that is in the works is a potential for a new Precinct 3 sub-courthouse. This would be farther east, closer to the northeast part of our county is now going to have Grand Prairie city limits in it. It's going to be a tremendous population impact to that precinct, and we're wanting to put a Precinct 3 sub-courthouse closer into the nucleus of that precinct. What that would do is hopefully by the time redistricting comes around in 2030, we could carve out what is now the Precinct 3 sub-courthouse there in Alvarado and carve it into Precinct 4 and make it a Precinct 4 sub-courthouse. That would also free up a courtroom in the historic courthouse that we're going to at some point eventually need for another district court. So we're constantly looking down on the radar and into the crystal ball of, where we're going and how we're going to get there in terms of accommodating the growth that we're experiencing. Because that 5% growth a year, I don't know that that's going to stop for a while, Greg. It doesn't appear to be slowing down at all. And so we have to plan and look well down, years to come to start, to head or be prepared for that.
Another thing that commissioners courts is you have statutes that you're obligated to follow, and you also have to follow other political subdivisions. Kind of they all have their own role, and the bottom line is the state legislature has a lot of authority over either restricting what a county can do or granting the county authority to oversee more of the local issues. Regarding legislation, talk about some of the legislation and how the county commissioner's roles fits into, whether it's, navigating within the legislative process or looking to expand legislative opportunities for the commissioners' courts, et cetera.
Sure. So one of the things that I've been working on personally since this surfaced back in 2016 was sex offender residency close to what would be considered a child safety zone if it were in the city. I received a phone call, a couple of phone calls from concerned residents that had received a letter stating that a high-risk registered sex offender was going to be residing at a residence close to where they lived. And the thing that concerned the caller was they lived very, very close to a school campus, 400 feet. And turns out this home that this person was going to reside in had multiple sex offenders living in it. And this concerned resident was very, very concerned and asked me, why does the county allow this to happen? Cities have ordinancing ability to establish child safety zones where a registered sex offender can't live, work, or be within 1,000 feet of what's considered a child activity area, like a school, a playground, a public pool, an arcade, a daycare center. Any of those things would be off limits. So I had a meeting with our county attorney, the county judge, the sheriff, and our state representative at that time. And the way we approached that was we did a county resolution, and the state representative took that resolution and drafted a bill and introduced it to the 2017 session. I also took that resolution to our County Judge and Commissioners Association, Regional Association, and got it approved by the Resolutions Committee. And then I was able to take it to the County Judge Commissioners State Association and get it approved there to make it a legislative priority for the entire association of the entire state of Texas. That bill was introduced in, the 17, the 19, every session. And this year we made some adjustments on it. We exempted the lowest level offender and restructured that bill somewhat. And when we did that, we garnered the support of I visited the president of the Texas Sheriff's Association is a friend of mine, and we've established a very, very good working relationship. We're on a board together. We got the Sheriff's Association behind it. We got CLEAT behind it. We got some Houston police associations behind it. And it got more support this time than ever before, and it actually got voted out of committee. It was late in the game, so it didn't go any farther, but we feel very positive about that going into the next session. That's something that's been a priority. Of course, other legislation also, of course, the PFAS testing as far as biosolids go, that's something we've worked very, very hard on. We want to continue to introduce that bill and hopefully see it through this time. Some of the things that I testified on last session, the Senate Finance Committee considers every year giving counties some severance tax road grant money for county roads. And we've received some of that money since I've been on the court. However, there were 3 or 4 of us that testified this time in that Senate Finance Committee. And I guess it fell on a bad day, as the day they were dealing with the Lottery Commission. And things were kind of going south and wheels were coming off. But we testified, and the committee was very, very positive in their response and seemed like they were very, very supportive. But we got nothing out of that. So that's going to continue to be something that we work on, because that was a home run for counties, and we were able to do those projects at no cost to our local taxpayers, and spend more money and get things done on roads.
you bring up the Senate Finance Committee and grants. How does the county negotiate the grant, like e-grant system? Does that help you guys out at all? Is that kind of the lane, or just
certain
segueing off what you brought up with the Senate?
There's some grants that we have applied for. The sheriff's office and some of the constables' offices are have access to some grants. For example, I was chair of the Emergency Preparedness and Planning Council at North Central Texas Council of Governments. That council's primary focus and primary purpose is to designate the need and the direction for the Homeland Security grants that come to the COG, to the Council of Governments, 14 county area. And typically that has helped fund some different things for our sheriff's office, i.e. The armor plates for the bulletproof vest. Almost annually we get that paid for through grant money. As far as, and one of the things that we are actually considering is employing a grant writer. We don't have an economic development commission any longer, and we had talked about putting together a personnel unit that would be economic development / grant writing. But those are kind of two different. Those are two different animals. So that's something that we're still looking at as far as grants. I did pursue and receive a federal grant through NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service, to do an erosion control projects. There was an issue with one of my bridges in my system that could eventually compromise the structural integrity of that bridge. And NRCS came in and did the engineering and paid for a erosion control project there. It's about $225,000 worth. And so that was a home run as well. And it went on to private property, which I can't do, but way that grant was structured, that allowed me to do that and make that all come together.
Speaking about things like erosion, that leads us to probably the most visible thing in the county. I think that if there's one thing everybody understands about County Commissioners Court, it comes down to roads. And roads is what everybody sees. It's what they're on every day. And it's the biggest complaint probably in every county across the state of Texas.
Sure.
Talk to us a little bit about roads and explain to us what a commissioner's role is in the maintenance of the roads and kind of how you view that interesting dynamic.
Absolutely. First of all, in Precinct 4, I have 295 miles of roads, which makes 590 miles of ditches. I have 1,114 under road culverts and 33 bridges. So it's a daily challenge to maintain that much of a road system. The road and bridge tax in our county is 5 cents. Of that 5 cents, I get 27%, or I say Precinct 4 gets 27%, or 1.35 cents of tax of the tax rate. That is, whenever you look at that amount of money and then divide it by miles of roads, it stretches it pretty thin. However, and weather is a huge factor in the whole road system. Our big rebuild window of time is from about mid-March to late October. That's our prime time when we can get a lot of work done, as long as the weather cooperates. Last spring, we had an extremely wet spring. It rained all the way into mid-June. We lost a tremendous amount of time. That said, we still ran out. I spent every penny of my road material budget, $748,000, and I had to transfer $100,000 in out of reserve to get through the budget year and get through the season. And one reason for that is our materials have gone up like 41% over the last 3 years. So even though we have the money to a certain extent, but inflation has hit us hard. Weather hits us hard, and it narrows that window of opportunity. Now, in looking at this summer's forecast, I'm hearing I heard today that the firemen are ramping up because they think this could be as big a fire year as 2011 was. And 2011 was scary. We had a fire out at our place that came across our place, and we had a tremendous amount of fires back in 2011. But if it's a drought year, and I hate to say this as an agricultural producer and a farmer and rancher, but I can get more road work done in a drought year than I can in one of those wet years. We can get more road miles rebuilt, and when the weather cooperates, we get more done. We look at roads. We put together a plan a year in advance on what we're going to try to do as far as rebuilds goes. We look at the traffic volume, number one, or damage, first of all, damage number one, along with traffic volume, where we think we can get in and where the worst case scenario is in terms of damage and traffic, we try to address those areas. We have a software system. Every phone call gets logged into that software, so we track every call, tie it to every mile of road, and we keep up with every one of those issues. Whenever we get through with the season in late October, we look and we start forecasting what we're going to try to do next year. And some are rebuilds where we go in, grind those roads up, and evaluate, do they have enough road base, or are we going to have to haul in road base? We've actually incorporated some new products and new methodology in what we're doing, and we use a stabilization product now that if we have ample road base under that surface, we can go in with a stabilizer product and stabilize that. And what used to, let's say a project that used to take us 6 weeks, now takes us 2 weeks. And we eliminate having to haul in a lot of road base. There's places, though, that we grind that road up and there's nothing underneath. We have to add, we're talking about 6 to 8 inches of road base, compact that, and then we chip seal on top of that. But that stabilization process is working very, very well for us. There's been a couple of us use it here in the county, and so far we're pretty pleased with it. Now it comes with a cost. It's right now it's costing us about $125,000 a mile to rebuild a road using that process. So it's not cheap, but we try to get as many miles done as we can a year, and it's typically weather driven.
You kind of briefly touched on my next two questions. Next two questions being explain the process of how you prioritize what gets fixed and when,
Right.
What goes into that. You can't fix them all at once, obviously. And then the other one was, is there anything that you can do to kind of accelerate and improve the replacement and repair of roads? You kind of touched on those, but I just want to revisit that to see if there's anything else that you left on the table.
That stabilization product has been a home run as far as accelerating things and getting more miles done in a shorter amount of time. With almost 300 miles, in one of the larger precincts in the county, not everybody sees every mile of road like we do. And typically, people are concerned about their road, and sometimes that's not on our list yet. It's because there's other areas of the county that need the attention worse. And that's what we just have to go with our priorities and do the best we can to do that. I visited with a lady this morning, and, we did a totally rebuild on her road. And now the issue is speed. It's
too good. It's too fast.
Yeah. She said that we need to call the sheriff's office to get radar out there. So
speed bumper too. Give it.
Yeah, we get a lot. We do get a lot of phone calls asking for speed bumps, and that's just not something that we can do.
Yeah. Speaking of roads, the bottom line is, I think it's fair to say in Johnson County, there's going to be a lot more roads added down the road
Sure.
with these municipal utility districts. These are communities coming in and they're gonna involve a lot of roads. Whether how and what that falls on the county is, I think, yet to be determined and unique to each individual municipal utility district or MUD. Talk to us a little bit about the concerns with MUDs, why the public should be aware of MUDs, and kind of where MUDs are, and your view on those in Johnson County.
Greg, MUDs are to me, they're a real problem. Number one, we're talking about instead of 1 acre lots, which is what we require in our subdivision rules, due to the fact that MUDs are going to have their own sewer treatment plant, they can get by with 1/4 acre lots. And because they don't have to adhere to the 1 septic per acre rule. So you're talking about a very concentrated area of residential homes in a very small, well, not necessarily small, but just very, very dense concentration. And number one, we've looked at some MUDs that were a mile deep. Okay, think about this. That MUD's a mile deep. We require a 60-foot right of way, and they're wanting a variance to reduce that right of way. And there's 2 ways in and out, and they're both on the front of the subdivision. It's a mile to the back. Let's say that house on the back catches on fire, and we've got to get fire trucks all the way back there, a mile deep, navigating through parked cars in that closely, densely populated subdivision to get back there. It's going to be a real problem. My concern about MUDs is public safety, number one. Number two, the sewer treatment plants are a big concern because they're putting out wastewater every day. Some of these MUDs putting out 1 million gallons a day and of effluent, and that's going into our natural waterways. It's going into our creeks and reservoirs. For example, there's one it got approved by TCEQ the other day, and all their wastewater is going to go into Chambers Creek. Chambers Creek drains into Richland Chambers Reservoir. Richland Chambers Reservoir provides drinking water for the city of Fort Worth. I'm concerned about what's going into that. It's and everybody that owns property, in between. You mentioned roads, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of miles of roads that they add due to MUDs. But the good thing is that counties are under no obligation to accept those roads into county maintenance. And so far, every discussion that I've had with a MUD proposal or MUD developer, I've made it very clear, and I think all 4 commissioners have, that we're not going to take those roads, and because they all have a tax rate, and it's all right at $1 in addition to all the taxes you're already paying. So, that tax rate needs to be used to maintain their infrastructure, and that's our position on it. MUDs to me, they're a sore subject. They're buying large tracts of land. This one that I testified against the other day at a TCEQ meeting is over 400 acres. It's going to have 1,950 lots on it. And just the impact that's going to have on the school district is frightening. The impact it's going to have on the local, the infrastructure outside of the MUD. There's some county roads and state roads there that are going to be impacted significantly. And the big question on some of these is water. Do we have ample water supply for that? The bad news is the state doesn't give us any authority. I mean, if they turn in a plat and it meets our subdivision rules and regulations, we're bound by law to approve that. So it's a tough situation. But the 3 biggest concerns is strain on infrastructure, the wastewater coming out of those MUDs, and number 2, where's the fresh water coming forward to serve those MUDs?
Well, and you talk about fresh water. I think that's a big big issue and concern for most of Texas at this point. And you talk about the growth coming, and you can't talk about the growth coming and kind of the development. We've addressed MUDs, but now let's go into data centers. And this is kind of a haven't been around or talked about near as much as MUDs have. I think MUDs, they've been going on for a while. They're just now getting momentum to where there's a lot more visibility on it. And I think there's a lot of people kind of hopefully getting ahead more faster with the data center issues. Talk to us a little bit about data centers and how that could potentially impact Johnson County in the future.
Data centers are another scary thing, Greg. And there's a couple of proposed data centers looking at Johnson County. There's one over in my precinct, close to Venus, that apparently has purchased the land. The land's been annexed into the city. There's some others lurking around that are looking at Johnson County. We're hearing about. They use a tremendous amount of water. They have a tremendous amount of impact on the electrical grid. They try to locate close to, either power stations or power plants. That one over at Venus is very close to the big substation there, right at the county line, going into Ellis County. These data centers are taking up a tremendous amount of our rural landscape. That's a major concern to me. And the caveat to that is, though, the only way you can control that property is to own it. Private property rights are always going to prevail, and whoever owns that property can develop it the way they would like. And counties have no authority over these data centers. They're buying large enough tracts of land where they don't have to subdivide it and go through the platting process. So there's really nothing to approve other than a development agreement. A development permit that's administratively approved. That's just that it doesn't amount to a whole lot. So it's a scary situation. There's some counties that are actually, due to the major, they're going to have major evaluations, and increase the tax base. And there's some counties that are looking at giving tax incentives. And I can tell you that the Johnson County Commissioners Court has no appetite for that at all. We don't want to provide any incentive for those because that's not how we want our county to look. And it's a major concern. The water, the electricity. There's not that many. There's not that many jobs associated with them. So it's. I wish the state would give us a little more authority there.
Not to put you on the spot, and I think you've made it clear where Commissioner Woolley stands on data centers and tax abatements and tax breaks, but why would a county ever consider tax incentives to draw a data center here?
Great question. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning at 8:00, I'll be in College Station on a 4-hour session on data centers. And the class will be centered about data centers and tax incentives. And apparently there's some counties that have taken the approach of if they have some incentives, they can provide some measure of control over that. I'm anxious to hear kind of what that is. Regardless of how it is, I don't think that there's still going to be any appetite from our court to provide any tax incentive for a data center or a solar farm or a battery storage facility or any of the above. I just don't think that's going to happen.
And on to our last subject, and this is one of the more visible ones in Johnson County. It's made a lot of news outside of Johnson County. Was a big issue during the last legislative session, and we're going to talk about PFAS, PFOS, biosolid issue. Talk to us a little bit about PFAS and why Johnson County could be concerned about that, and where that kind of road is at. Obviously the timeline it's a very complicated thing. We don't need to go into the specifics of that, but get us caught up to where Johnson County is and what the future holds regarding biosolids, PFAS, and PFOS.
I can tell you what the future holds, and as far as what our intent is, but as far as what the future truly holds, I couldn't tell. I don't have a crystal ball for that. But this biosolid land application been going on in Johnson County for 25 years. When I first ran for office in 2014, I had countless people, constituents, especially in the Grandview area, and especially in Precinct 4, tell me, Larry, you got to do something about this human waste fertilizer. The smell is horrible. When they put it out close to where we live, we can't even go outside in the evening because the smell is so horrific. So over time, when those land applications would take place, my phone would blow up at the office, and people would say, why can't you do anything about this? Why, and I would tell them, I said, your avenue is called TCEQ, register an air quality complaint, and have, ask them to come investigate. And, none of that ever really amounted to anything. There was never any measurable improvements made on that. And then over the years, some things started happening, and some odd things started happening, and the county, in the interest of public health and public safety, chose to authorize some testing. We did some testing, found some very concerning test results concerning PFAS chemicals, and as a result of that, we have moved toward some legislation that we introduced into the 89th session back in 25 that would require testing of biosolids for certain PFAS chemicals before it could be land applied to ag land. And it identified, I believe, 17 different PFAS chemicals. There's over 10,000 of them. And it gave the maximum contaminant level that would be allowed for each one of those before it could be land applied. If it exceeded those levels, it would have to be disposed of in some alternative means. Was a very, very well-written bill, I thought. We had assistance from Texas Public Policy Foundation in drafting that bill, along with some environmental scientists and environmental toxicologists. Unfortunately, it didn't get out of committee. We had a tremendous committee hearing at 3:00 in the morning that a number of us testified at, and had a tremendous amount of written testimony. Received a lot of support, but it was heard late in the game, late in the session, and it got left pending in committee. We're hopeful that we can, now that we have, we've done a lot, made a big effort in educating a lot of other educated elected officials across the state, city officials, county. I've spoken to hundreds of county commissioners at our regional and district conferences, and brought awareness to a lot of those folks. There was a great article in our County Progress magazine that goes to every elected official in the state, and we've received a lot of feedback from that and interest. As a matter of fact, Greg, there's 12 states that have introduced similar legislation in their states. Oklahoma's in session apparently right now, because I'm hearing about a bill that they're working on up there as well. But I've had people call me from all over the United States asking questions about this, and a lot of other elected officials. I received an email here a couple of weeks ago from the Sullivan County Commissioner's Court from Pennsylvania, and they had done a similar resolution to ours, asking for supportive testing of PFAS chemicals and biosolids. So we're educating a lot of folks, and there's a tremendous amount more of awareness than what we used to have. Legislation is going to be the key, so I think that's where we're moving. Hopefully we can get some form of that bill passed, and some sort of resolve hopefully can start happening on that, and we can and we can move forward with a safer product.
So where this got halted last session, is the awareness enough, you think? Is there more that needs to be done? Can the public do anything to get involved? Is there anything, obviously, I think, government is a double-edged sword. There's really, really good reasons it moves slow. It prevents knee-jerk reactions, emotional decisions from happening. At the same time, especially at the legislative level, they're only in session for 25% of each term, so, or at least for representatives' terms, every 2 years. So you're talking about a lot of awareness that's been done from when this was identified and moved forward with this legislation. Is there anything else that needs to be done? What else? Is there anything the public can do? Any other things that can help get that ready? Because the bottom line, when the next legislative session starts, the clock is ticking.
That's correct.
That hourglass turns, and when it is empty, it's empty. And so, where anything else that can be done in regards to that?
I think that once that session starts and that bill gets assigned to the committee, the public needs to email every member of that committee, and Texas Legislature Online is a very user-friendly website. You can research those bills and find those committee members, email those, if they get hit with enough of those emails. And the odd thing was, Greg, and I'll point out that the majority of the members of that committee that heard us testify in that hearing had signed on to that bill as support. They were also co-sponsors of that bill. So it's a little bit of a mystery why it didn't go any farther, but it got heard late, and the things that get heard late sometimes just seldom ever get to the floor. But I think it's public input has got to be and that's the reason I think that the awareness is so important, that now the public is aware of this and aware of, it's always been an offensive odor. And odors are not really measurable, but, now there's been some data that has derived from that can be, that leads to a little bit more knowledge and allow people to say, hey, we want you to give strong consideration to this bill, because it's very important. We want to maintain the safety of our soil and our water and our food chain.
I looked up the bill while we were saying here. There was 36 pages of written testimony, not including the people at 3:30 in the morning. So
it was tremendous.
So it'll be interesting to watch that here come 2027. See kind of where that falls out. So as we get ready to close here, you're asking for 4 more years here, for Johnson County residents to put their faith and trust into you. What's the clearest promise that you want to make to Johnson County residents as far as what you're going to how you're going to approach serving them in another term as commissioner?
Greg, I do a tremendous amount of research. I ask a lot of questions. I ask hard questions. If there's something that I'm unclear on a commissioner's court agenda or something that we're working on, I either call or meet with county attorney or the county judge or one other member of the court to discuss that. And I do a tremendous amount of research in order to prepare myself for every court meeting and every decision. My promise is I will continue to do that, and I'll base decisions on strong conservative values and the rule of law. And I will do my best to uphold our Johnson County way of life. I think we have a great quality of life here in this county, and I want to maintain that. I want to improve that, and I think we do that through a well-equipped, a well-paid and well-staffed sheriff's office. Our EMS service, we've stepped that up. I will also make a promise to make sure that we continue to do that. We've increased our EMS service from a 4.5 truck, 4.5 ambulances in the whole county to 7.5. Now that doesn't come cheap. You know, we pay $1.5 million a year for that service, but our average response time for our EMS service is 12 minutes, a little over 12 minutes countywide. And I'm very, very proud of that. And that's a huge improvement from the provider that we had before. Response time is what it's all about. So that's my promise. I'll be fiscally sound, make decisions with conservative values. I've done that for the last 11 years, and I will continue to do that in representing the citizens of Johnson County.
The bottom line is there's people that no matter what are going to vote for you. There's people that no matter what are going to vote against you. There's politics is polarizing. It is what it is. It's a unfortunate thing. But the good news is there's still a lot of people that are always gathering research. And there's those people that are on the fence and those people that have yet to make a decision. What is this for those individuals that are teetering back and forth and trying to decide, you know, who to trust the next 4 years of Precinct 4 with? What is the strongest reason that you want voters to look at to consider you for the next 4 years?
Great question, Greg. And, you know, I think experience is the key here. Our growth pattern is coming at us so hard and so fast that we're continually looking at subdivisions, at plats, dealing with developers, dealing with industry. You mentioned the data centers, the solar farms, strain on the water system. I have developed a lot of long-term relationships with agencies, TxDOT, local cities. I have 7 cities in my precinct, either in my precinct or a part of their city is in my precinct. So that's 7 mayors. Only
Sorry, I'm
five,
having the drama with
only
that.
5 of them have city managers, but you know, we work real well together. We have a cohesive court, a very conservative court, and I look at this as to the voters. This is you're in charge of a personnel decision, and you're hiring somebody to be a part of a management team of about $110 million operation with over 900 employees. I would hope that you would want to hire somebody or employ somebody or elect somebody that has the experience in the background and already is part of that system rather than a person that does not. And I think, you know, now is the time to have expertise, not amateurs in this position. And I think that's the main thing that I can offer with my background, education, public administration, and on the job for 11 years. I'm well grounded and well rooted into this role. I've been identified as a leader among leaders, vice president of the County Judge and Commissioners Association of the state of Texas. In 2 years, I'll be president of that state, and very honored to be considered in that role. So that's my position.
Well, we're going to give you one last chance to look voters directly in the eyes. You've gone to lots of different events now where you've been asked a lot of questions. You've had an introduction speech, a closing speech. We're going to give you an opportunity to give your elevator speech, so to speak, to the voters and tell them exactly who you are, why they should vote for you, and what to expect from 4 more years of Commissioner Woolley if the voters trust you and elect you.
Well, thank you, Greg. You know, we've done a lot of positives. And we've done a lot of very positive things in this county. We've reduced the tax rate 20% in the last few years, from 47.2 down to 38.9 cents. That's a huge stroke in the right direction. I'm hopeful that we continue with that reduction. New growth allows us for that to pay for new growth in a lot of times, and hopefully we can do that again. I've talked about my experience and my background. A couple of things I'm very passionate about. I want to make sure that our natural resources are taken care of. I've carried the flag on groundwater sustainability. Back a few years ago, we increased the minimum acreage for a water well from 1 acre to 2 acres. And I think we're looking now at possibly needing to expand that. And I've already had discussions with Prairie Lands Groundwater Conservation District, and we'll be looking at that as a court to see if that's something that we need to do. That's the big concern I have about MUDs and data centers, is the impact they're going to have on water. I'm very, very concerned about that, and I do a lot of research on that, and I want to protect this county from that. I want to keep our county as you know, this county has helped me raise my kids, and now it's raising my grandkids, and I appreciate this county so much for what it has been and what it continues to be, and I look forward to being a part of that. And with your support, I can.
Well, Commissioner Woolley, we want to thank you for coming on, for trusting us to get a long format discussion here. It's something we take pride in. We want to wish you the best of luck. Do you want to anyone that wants to learn more about you and your vision? Whether it's a Facebook page, an email, a website, sure. Where can people go to learn more about you and what you're standing for and some of your history with service to Johnson County?
My website's very simple. It's larrywoolley.com, and remember to put 2 L's in Woolley. There's a lot of information on there, including a couple of endorsements. I've been endorsed, very honored and very humbled to be endorsed by 2 U.S. congressmen, Congressman Jake Ellzey in District 6 and Congressman Roger Williams in District 25, the 2 congressmen that serve Johnson County right now. That came as a surprise to me, and very honored for that. My Facebook page is Larry Woolley, and we try to we're doing some posts on that on a regular basis, and receiving some other endorsements there as well. Greg, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and appreciate what you do, and giving candidates and elected officials the chance to share and what's going on and what's best for Johnson County.
All right, Commissioner. Well, good luck. Good luck on your trip. Drive safely to College Station. Hopefully, you get some information on the data centers. That's a can of worms.
It is a can of worms.
And thank you again, Commissioner. Good luck.
Thank you.